Hey everybody, I am Scotty J. Welcome back to Rock Titan Live. I gotta tell you all something right now. Sometimes I know I open up the show and I'm like, oh, I'm geeked out with this next guest. Because we really do have awesome guests on a regular basis. But this gentleman I have on right now, he is truly an icon. He is an iconic drummer for one of the greatest metal bands in the history of the planet Earth. And one of the really cool things about him is that he's also a painter. And, like we've had Rick Allen on in the past. You guys have all met Rick Allen on the show. This guy is very similar, very similar. And, everybody, without further ado, come on, feel the noise. We got Frank Banali from Quiet Riot with us. Mr. Banali, how are you, sir?
Well, after that introduction, just color me red.
Well, I'm being perfectly sincere. And I definitely don't want to focus on this one topic too much. I'm sure you've had your fill of it. But just because you have millions and millions of fans across the globe and you've been generous enough to give us your time today on Rock Titan Live, how are you feeling?
I'm doing good, all things considered. I continue to do my chemotherapy treatments and a lot of daily IV treatments to support my immune system.
Right on.
And I've been fighting. I've been fighting this fight since April of 2019,
And
and I continue to move forward as best as I can.
right on. Right on. Now, your GoFundMe, because I saw that link and I already shared that out there for everybody. GoFundMe, that's still good. That's live. You're still taking contributions from that, I hope?
Yeah, that's still ongoing,
Okay.
and the support has been amazing. The comments, which all of which I've read, have been amazing, and the support has been amazing. I never thought that Quiet Riot has brought many great things into my life, and this is just another example of how grateful I am to everybody for supporting my particular cause.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. All right, so we're sharing that link out there. And everybody, we got to keep Frankie around as long as we can and, put this big C into remission where it belongs. You know what I'm saying? Because I know we've all been touched by it. Obviously some more personally like Frankie than others, but it's got to stop. It's got to stop. We got to help a brother out here. But man, so everyone obviously knows you, from as the drummer for Quiet Riot, but your artwork, and that is what we are going to focus on today. Awesome. So right now you've got out your it's called Spirits 1 through 8. Yeah? You use
That's
Roman
correct.
numerals in there, but Spirits 1 through 8.
That is correct.
Okay. And then this has all been orchestrated by Scene 4 Inc.
Yeah, that I've worked with Scene 4 before with some digital art that I did in the past for them. And Corey and Ravi at Scene 4 and Melody as well have been great to work with in the past, and they continue to be great to work with. And Allison hooked us up with you, I'm just very happy to have a chat with you about art, life, music, anything.
Right on. Yeah, no, it's my honor and privilege. And Allison, you rock. Thank you so much again. We love you. But so how long have you been into painting? I mean, I know when you first started putting your art out, but has painting been something that's been a passion of yours for how many years now?
Yeah, it's been something I've always enjoyed. I was fortunate growing up in New York City that, my parents were um, avid visitors to museums and galleries, and they always brought me. So it was just a very natural thing for me to be in that setting and to look at different art, different perspectives. So that's been a part of my life. It's been something that's been in the background more than anything, because early on my focus was in trying to be successful. Midway through it, my focus was trying to stay successful, and now my focus in my later life is to continue to be relevant.
Frankie, somehow I don't think you're going to have a problem with that, man. I mean, you've got a legacy that is going to last a long, long, long time. And I don't want to digress too much. Everybody, you know that I'm the talk show host with ADHD. And so I apologize for that. But I mean, you talk about wanting to leave your stamp, your mark, and for all the various things that millions of people are going to remember you by. It was really humbling. I was talking with one of my good buddies earlier today. Actually, I'm going to digress just a little bit, but go off on my tangent as I famously do. He's a drummer though. I mean, he's been a pretty accomplished drummer in his own right, and he was telling me a story because I told him I was going to be talking to you. And he's like, "No way!" He's like, "You got to give me a call," because when he was a younger man, he heard you for the first time, I guess, when you had just gone out on tour and you made a special appearance with Faster Pussycat.
Mm-hmm.
So this goes back to when you were jamming with those guys, and his father actually made him the metal mask. So for mental health, of course, and he still has it, and he's just like, oh man, just let it. And you are the reason. You are the specific reason why he wanted to become a drummer. When he saw you play, he's like, oh my god. He's like, I got to do it. So I know that you've inspired countless musicians over the years. But in terms of painting, talking about inspirations, was there any one or anything specifically that inspired you to get into painting in the first place?
No, I mean, it was something natural for me. Sometimes being out on the road, you have everybody thinks that it's all one big party, and it really isn't. There's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of hurry up and wait. And I always had a sketchbook with me that I showed to no one, and I would just sketch things out for future projects. And then they just sit there in the notebook because ideas continue to keep running through my mind. One of the great things about painting, and especially during this entire self-quarantine situation, is that it's given me the freedom to go out back in my garden where I paint, and not have to think about world news, world politics, my cancer. It really all disappears. I'm out there listening to music, and I pick specific music to go with whatever I think I might be painting on any given day. And it's a wonderful, very personal release. The thing about, for me, painting, the strokes are equal to me as the strokes when I'm sitting down playing drums. And there's a minimalist side of me that I really enjoy. So I don't overplay in the songs, and I don't overcreate either. I just, I have to like it first, and hopefully somebody else will like it, after I'm done.
Right on, right on. Now, one of the things that I'm curious about with you drummers, it's like your drumsticks are your magic wands, and then you have other peers of yours, which, now the paintbrush becomes your magic wand. And I don't know what it is, but I mean, you got like Chad Smith, and you got Rick Allen, and you got Bill Ward, you got Mickey Hart, all you guys out there. And I know you're all, kind of associated with Scene 4, like we're talking about. And I know Allison gets to hang out with all you cool dudes all the time. Do you think there's anything specific? Is there a correlation between drumming and painting? Because I just find these parallels amazing.
Yeah, I think it's all about the rhythm of things, and the proportion, um, how hard you hit a drum or how hard you hit a cymbal, how much saturation you put on your brush before it hits the paper or the canvas. It's all thought out. Drummers are methodical. Drummers are mathematicians to a certain degree, and there's a certain freedom in drumming that I find correlates well to a certain amount of freedom in creating art.
Right on. Right on. Now, one of the things I think that's interesting, just because of your drumming style, I mean, you pound away on those drums, but with your painting, it's very unique. Now, even though I've spoken with my share of artists at this point, um, I still don't really understand all the nuances, like the language of it. There's like specific lingo and whatnot. And for you, where I'm going with this is you use what's known as washi paper. Am I pronouncing that right? Washi paper?
Yeah, I went back to my roots, which is working with handmade Japanese paper, um, and using Japanese Sumi ink. And it's a very unforgiving medium because the paper soaks the ink, and sometimes it wants to go where it wants to go, not where you want it to go. So you really have to be careful with your borders. What is your intent when you put that stroke on the paper, and how to best control it. But washi papers, it's a lot easier to deal with a canvas. It's a more solid medium to work with, but the canvas doesn't really soak in the paint, or in my case, the ink, the way the paper does. So it's very challenging, but it's a lot of fun for me. And I believe in the minimalistic art, because I like to leave enough room for the person who sees it to interpret it in their own ways. Just like every listener hears a song differently than any other listener. So I think it corresponds well one with the other.
I love it. Now, why did you choose that specific medium, the washi paper, and then the Sumi ink, and just the style with which you paint? What made you gravitate toward that, say, versus something more heavily like acrylic on canvas and things of that nature?
Well, one of the pieces in the collection, Technicolor Zen, that was actually done on canvas
Okay.
with acrylics. So, I'm comfortable with both. It's just different disciplines that you have to use with it. I just really enjoy the negative space in a lot of Japanese art, especially modern Japanese art. So, I really try to, in some small way, achieve art that might be considered, worth viewing, worth owning.
Right on. Right on. Now, I got to ask you, Mr. Banali, are you a Who fan? Are you into the Who? Have they been a band that's inspired you? And you know where I'm going with this, obviously. Pinball Wizard. I love that. That's one of my favorite paintings that you put out there.
Yeah, big Who fan. As a matter of fact, off subject, my wife and I yesterday in our self quarantine decided to reorganize my vinyl collection, because it was completely and totally unalphabetized. I had to go through 20 bins to find one record. So we did that yesterday, and it was amazing to see how many Who records I own right from the very beginning. And the same thing with the Rolling Stones. So yeah, I mean, I love the Who. I got to see them several times. I actually got to see them, I think it was in 65, 6 or 7. I'd have to go back to my archives, but I actually saw them at a club in Fort Lauderdale, as close as I am to my computer right now. So yeah, and
Wow.
Pinball Wizard was always a great song. The lyric really paints a picture, and I wanted to try to capture a little bit of that feeling with Pinball Wizard.
Right on. You know what? You talk about that vinyl collection of yours. I saw that post, because I was stalking you big time. But man, that is an impressive vinyl collection. My gosh, And then you were talking about the gaps, and you're like, "Don't worry, I got more in another room."
Yep.
Wow, man, that is amazing. Holy smokes! But so getting back to spirits 1 through 8, this new art collection that you put out. We just talked about Pinball Wizard, obviously, and you talked about Technicolor. I love Central Park. Now, obviously, that's got to be near and dear to your heart, obviously, being a native of New York and being born there. What made you choose that? Is it just that, just your affinity for New York City?
Yeah, I was listening to when I did that. When I was listening to Miles Davis, especially during his '70s electric period, and I have really happy memories of going to Central Park with my bike. Central Park for me was freedom from everything, especially on my bike, and so the emotion for me in that particular piece of art is the bike, but also the stairs going down to when you wanted to get on reasonably flat, area to ride, and going through the tunnels and everything in New York. And it was a great freedom I felt as a kid, is that I could go anywhere on that bike, and I most certainly did. Dumped it in the East River a couple of times, but it's another story. Another
Yeah.
pain.
Right, right. Now, for everybody that's watching, Again, we are here with the legend, Frankie Banali of Quiet Riot, and we are talking about his artwork that you can go check out on frankiebanaliart.com. That's the website. Go check it out. And do you have your artwork displayed in any galleries at all, or is this all exclusively to be purchased online?
Well, originally the plan was before the coronavirus situation. The plan was is to have an exhibit at a gallery in Los Angeles on Wilshire Boulevard. Of course, with the coronavirus situation, that became an impossibility. So we decided at this point in time to put the collection and make the collection available online because it's impossible for people to actually see it in person. The great thing about the website frankiebanaliart.com is that you can look at the art, you can enlarge it, you get a pretty good idea of what the art is about. There's brief little explanations of each piece, at least what it means to me. And I think in the future we may have a gallery exhibit, but really all of our lives are up in the air right now until this whole situation gets sorted out.
Sure, sure. Now, with the Black Widow, because that's another one of my favorite paintings that you created, that seemed a little bit darker. Where did that come from? Because looking at it, I'm thinking it's not the Black Widow from Marvel Comics. She's not one of the Avengers. That's not where we're going with this. We're talking about like an actual spider, yes?
Yeah, what happened is I had planned to do a different painting, a different direction that day. And when I went out into the garden, I spotted, a good sized black widow, and I'm against, I mean, I know they're poisonous. I've actually been stung by one when I was a kid, so
Oh, wow.
yeah, I know the dangers of it, or the relative dangers of it, but I'm against killing it. So I went inside and got a glass and got a little piece of cardboard and got the spider in there, the black widow, and I looked at it for maybe 20 seconds or so, and let it go in the corner of the garden. And I came back and started painting, um, and it just metaphysically turned into something. Um, Maybe it has to do with my fears of getting stung by a black widow, but all of a sudden it became a much larger, ominous, dangerous, um, beautifully get away from it sort of piece of work.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love them all. I love them all. Everybody, seriously. I mean, it's one thing to hear, Frankie jamming away on the drums. You got to go check out his art if you haven't. It's beautiful. It really is beautiful. I mean, we were talking earlier, Frankie, about, just the legacy you lead, with music, with your art. Is that something that I don't know, especially, nowadays with the trials and the tribulations that you're dealing with, do you find yourself thinking any more so about, you know, just the impact that you have on people? Do you find that, people are reacting to you any differently? And are you reacting to people any differently in that relationship?
Well, I mean, I think some people are surprised by the art because I never really put it out there. That I've been doing this a long time. It was always a very private, personal thing, and I'm just very happy that a lot of people have said really um, great comments about the art, and a lot of people have been ordering it. So that's a very gratifying feeling for me. I have, because of my particular medical situation, I have this urgency about everything. I have an urgency about continuing to create music, which I'm doing. I have an urgency about creating art, which I still do almost on a daily basis, because it's a very personal and private thing for me. And I'm not trying to push it out there. I mean, if it's not, if a song is not coming to you, it's not coming to you. If a piece of art is not coming out on the paper or the canvas like you want it to, then it doesn't. So it's not like I'm just throwing anything out there. It's all very, very special to me because, it'll outlive me.
Right on, right on. Yeah, I mean, and anyone should be so fortunate, to have something so personal to them, like what you have with your art and your music, that extension of you that will be eternal, you know? Um, like this interview. This interview is going to be eternal. So I have to thank you for that, Frankie, because it
Thank
is a
you.
true honor to have you here with us today. In that vein, talking about that, you kind of jumped ahead of me there, and I'm glad you did. So, coronavirus, the pandemic, it's been insane. I mean, just the way everyone is having to interact with everyone with social distancing and things of that nature. Obviously, for you, you're not going out, you're not mingling in the public. I mean, no one should be doing it in the first place, but you definitely should not be. In this time, you talked about it. So you have been actively painting. You've been doing paintings above and beyond what this latest, Spirits 1 through 8 is. So you've already, begun creating new things. And then to that note, Quiet Riot just last year, you put out Hollywood Cowboys. So have you been writing new Quiet Riot material too? Is that what you were alluding to a little bit ago?
Yeah, as far as the art is concerned, because I do keep creating, there's quite a few pieces that haven't been seen yet, that are about to be photographed for possible, future having it added to the collection. So that is ongoing. I mean, I do that no matter what. I do that for my own personal, um, headspace, and I do it for my own enjoyment. So it is a labor of love for me because it's just a lot of fun. The same thing with the music. I continue, writing new songs for possible future Quiet Riot release. Um, Everything is dependent on what's going to happen with the coronavirus, how things will open up or how things will not open up, because it's impossible for people to get together into a rehearsal studio and work on songs, or go into the recording studio and recording songs right now. It's just not a possibility. Having said that, Quiet Riot are about to perform our first concert, post coronavirus, on July 4th in Arkansas. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice. Nice. Oh man, that's very exciting. Well, Frankie, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on Rock Titan Live today. Is there anything specific, any other links above and beyond what we were just talking about? Obviously, we have your Frankie Banali Art.com website where they can go purchase your art from there. Scene 4, any specific links? Obviously, we're going to be putting up the GoFundMe out there for everyone to contribute to. Anything that anyone else should be aware of right now as far as what you have coming up in the more immediate future this summer?
No, I mean, above and beyond, the art website, frankiebanaliart.com, they can see all the art there. And as new pieces get added, that will be the place for people to come to see it. As far as what's going on with Quiet Riot, quietriotband.com, you can go there and find out all the Quiet Riot dates. That have been, a lot of dates have been postponed for later in the year. Actually, dates into 2021. There
Right.
are some that may still play this year, depending on the situation. So that's the website for that. And everybody knows where to find me on Facebook. I've been very, very transparent about everything that's going on in my life. So.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have. Any collaborations? And then I'll let you go after this because I totally forgot to mention this. But I mean, you played with Billy Idol in the past. We talked about Faster Pussycat and whatnot. But I mean, you've interacted with so many different amazing artists over the years. And then of course there's been the turnover within Quiet Riot itself. You've had different musicians in and out of there. With your man DeBro, being the only real constant. Um, is there anyone like kind of on your bucket list that you'd like to perform with? I mean, we've had guys like Tony Franklin. I know Tony Franklin. You've worked with him in the past. The Fretless Monster. We love the Fretless Monster. Is there anyone that you kind of would like to throw your hat into the arena with and jam with?
You know what? I think this is the answer that every rock drummer will give you, and that would be Led Zeppelin, which we know is an impossibility. But one keeps the dream alive, and I'd love to do something with Jack White. I think he's absolutely fantastic, and I think we come from two different places, but that have a common thread running through them. So that would be a lot of fun. I've never put that out there, but you never know.
It's out there now.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, Mr. Banali, it has been an honor and a privilege, and I know I speak for everyone in the world, that's been a fan of your music, a fan of you as a person, a fan of your art. Thoughts and prayers, and I look forward to staying in touch and picking up some of that art because it really is great. It's great. Thank you so much for sharing that part of yourself. Because that really is. I mean, whether you're a writer or a painter or a sculptor, a musician, you're giving so much of that personal part of yourself. And thank you for giving that gift to everyone. I mean that sincerely.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat, art, music, and everything, Frankie B.
Yeah, right on, right on. Everybody, I'm Scotty J. Rock Titan Live, here with Frankie Banali from Quiet Riot. We're out.